Thank you very much, Congressman Hakeem Jeffries from New York and Congresswoman Joyce Beatty from Ohio for everything that you're doing on raising this issue tonight. It is very timely considering everything that we're going through right now. And when you think about the Voting Rights Act, it is literally the single most important piece of legislation that has ever been passed in the history of the United States as it deals with individuals' right to vote. But as you know, 3 years ago, the Supreme Court regressed and sent us back and by gutting Section 4 of the Voting Rights Act. And not only was that bad because it hurt the Voting Rights Act, but it was also bad because of everything that it did to propel states around the country from also retrogressing and sending us back in the area of voting rights. You're starting to hear so many stories of states and localities that are passing more and more laws to restrict the right to vote, making it harder for young people to vote, seniors, the disabled, people that move around a lot and are transient, people that don't necessarily have the money that they need in order to obtain the proper identification. And you heard Congresswoman Sewell when she so eloquently talked about the fact that oftentimes, particularly in the South, people were born by midwives. And so they don't necessarily have. We have a lot of baby boomers that are out there. People think these things happened a long time ago. That's the thing that you hear all the time. But there are people that are living here today, a lot of baby boomers that were born down in the piney woods of East Texas, that were born in other parts of the South that don't have the proper documentation that they need in order to be able to vote. I've met people since I've been involved in campaigns and elections and as an elected official that didn't have the proper ID to vote. And I got to tell you, there are many of them out there. And just hours after the Supreme Court made the decision in 2013 that my home state of Texas implemented the most egregious voter ID law in the entire country. Just hours after the Supreme Court gutted Section 4, they moved to re-implement the law. And that was very disappointing considering that a appeals court had already said that the voter ID law in Texas was one of the worst in the country.
Will the gentleman yield for a moment?
Absolutely.
Is it in fact the case that as it relates to that particular voter ID law in Texas, that individuals are able to vote if they've got a gun license, identification card, but are not able to vote under that draconian Texas law with a college ID? That
is correct. If you have a ID that is issued to you by the University of Texas or Texas A&M or Prairie View A&M University, that same ID, that same student ID that can be used to identify yourself to campus police officers, that can be used to identify yourself for other things that you would need an ID for, it will not work in order for you to go and vote. But if you have a concealed handgun license, then you can vote. And the concealed handgun license are mostly used by white males in the state. And it's really unfair that a more diverse form of ID like the student ID is not allowed under Texas laws. And so that was one of the reasons why I became the lead plaintiff on the voter ID lawsuit, Congressman Jeffries. It's Veasey versus Abbott. And we're going to continue to fight. We just got news today that the full circuit court, the Fifth Circuit Court, is going to take up our case. And I'm going to continue to work here in Congress, continue to work in Texas, continue to work in the Dallas-Fort Worth area to protect the voting rights of individuals that have been wronged. Also want to point out that, you know, it's, again, you oftentimes hear people say that we have progressed as a country and we don't need these laws. But when you look at what is going on in Texas, when you look at what is going on across the South, I just think we can't sit back anymore. We can't sit back and be idle and say, oh, no, well, you know, we're doing a little bit better. And so these people that are going to be discriminated against, the transient, the college students, the people that don't necessarily have their birth documentation in order like other people may have. We just can't sit back and say, you know, we're going to just move on and forget about them. We have to fight for those individuals as well because it's their right to vote, and we must protect it. And in 2016, I just think that we should be making it easier for citizens to vote. We should be talking about things like same-day, registration. We should be working together, Democrats and Republicans, on ways to ease lines when it comes to voting in places. We should be looking at ways that we can make it to where we have more days to vote early. You're starting to hear about laws around the country to scale back the number of in-person early voting days. And I just think that that's wrong. Again, I want to thank you for your leadership on this issue. I also want to thank you for pointing out that I have introduced the first Congressional Voting Rights Caucus to help aid and fight in the battle, along with so many of the other task force and organizations that are here in Congress that are working on those issues. And we want to continue to make sure together, again, and we need to do it in a bipartisan manner, that we all protect the right to vote. And again, I want to thank you and the Congresswoman from Ohio, Representative Beatty, on your work and passion on this issue.